Hamzambo familia. I hope that you are doing well on the 25th of May, the year 2021. Welcome to the Africa 54 Corresponding Show. A show we get to discuss different matters taking place all around the beautiful continent of Africa. And we also get to share a little bit over some insights on culture as well as other different facets of life in the beautiful continent that we also do call Al-Kebulan. My name is Pikes, and in case you're joining us for the very first time, I want to say Karibuni Sana. And that is a Swahili meaning you are much welcome. And now, of course, on this particular being on the 25th of May, we also happen to be marking the Africa Day. And the Africa Day is just a day that highlights the setting up of the African Union or the Organization of African Union. And I happen to realize that there are so many things that the African Union is involved with that people are really not even much aware about. You know, no one has really had that particular kind of a platform where they get to also incorporate a little bit of the work that is, to share a little bit of the work that is going on with the African Union. For the better part, I do know that it was actually set up in the early 1960s, and it has been in existence. It actually has its headquarters in Ethiopia, Addis Ababa, Ethiopia. That is where you can find the African Union headquarters. And the day in which it was established, it's said to be on the 25th of May. And that is why we do have this particular day being known as the Africa Day. I hope that you are doing well. I was wondering, and I was, of course, also sharing a little bit of my insight on some of the things that make us proud to be African, or some of the things that we are proud to be Africa for. One of the things I was sharing with my colleagues yesterday was the thing to do with the scenic beauty. You know, the scenic beauty of the African continent. There are so many things that you will not see anywhere else apart from in Africa. And we also do have the wonderful cultures and the cultural heritage of the people. That is also something else to be proud of, about Africa. This particular African Union does have 55 countries. It has 55 members. And it has been working from its headquarters are based in Addis Ababa, like I said earlier. And what you get to realize, one of the things that is really lacking with the African Union, I do believe, which is very, very much important, is a strong military force. If we did have an African Union-backed military force, we would be able to address some of the challenges that we do have. We shall be talking about what is happening in Mali. There is said to be a coup taking place in Mali right now. And I was thinking, if we did have a strong military force that is actually backed or headed by the African Union, then we would be able to sort out some of the problems that we are facing in terms of even the military insurgency in Africa. And especially in the Sahel region, we would be able to tackle that a little bit much better. Nonetheless, I want to welcome you so much before we get into all that. And now, of course, please do let me know where you are tuning from. I would like to know, where are you tuning from and how is your morning coming up? It's actually a dull day. I haven't seen the sun come out today. It's a really bit dull in Nairobi. And therefore, if I was looking forward to going out and doing a little bit of some gazing, you know, it's difficult. I cannot be able to do that today. Maybe later on, a little bit later on. But it's actually 4 minutes to 2 p.m. in Nairobi. I also believe it's 4 minutes to 2 p.m. In Russia, you know, in Russia. And I also do believe it's the same also in Saudi. Is it Saudi? I do believe we share the same timeline now with Saudi as well, but I might be mistaken. Please do let me know what time it is, whatever you might be tuning for. And I also want to draw to our attention something that has to do with the African Union, like I mentioned earlier. We do have the African national anthem, not the national anthem, really, the African continental anthem. Let me call it the continental anthem. I almost said it national. It's not really a national anthem, it's a continental anthem. And I wanted to share with us the African anthem, for which most people do not know what the African anthem is all about. If you ask anyone what are the words in the African anthem or what it's all about, even the people who do consider themselves to be really, really Pan-African, and ask them what is the African, what words would you find in the African anthem, people do not really have an idea. But of course, the African anthem has been put together to sort of inspire unity amongst different African people, whether be it that you are coming from South Africa, or whether be that you're coming from Gambia, or even Kenya, or Somalia, wherever you might be. I do believe it's really important to still, on this Africa Day, get to highlight a little bit of the African anthem. And it goes a little bit something like this. Let's see if it really does inspire African unity. But this is the African anthem.
The victories won for our liberation. Let us dedicate ourselves to rise together to defend our liberty and unity. Oh, sons and daughters of Africa, flesh of the sky, flesh of the sky. Let us make Africa the tree of life. Let us all unite and sing together to uphold the bonds that frame our destiny, our destiny. Let us dedicate ourselves to fight together for lasting peace and justice on earth. Oh, sons and daughters of Africa, flesh of the sun, flesh of the sky. Let us make Africa the tree of life. Let us all unite and join together to give the best we have to Africa, Break along mankind and found of culture. Our pride and hope and break of dawn. Oh, sons and daughters of Africa, flesh of the sun, flesh of the sky. Let us make Africa the tree of life.
I think that has been put together by the Parliament of South Africa, and like I was saying, being on the 25th of May, this is Africa Day. I don't know what you think about the same. It sounds like a church hymn. For me, it sounds like a church hymn, but it says, sons and daughters of Africa, flesh of the sun and also flesh of the sky. Let's come and work together, united, also defend our continent. I think I was looking for. That is also the same thing. Shepo Simono. It also sounds like a Catholic hymn, very very close to a Catholic hymn. And please, I think we need to refix. I think someone needs to get the work of refixing these anthem. This is the African Union anthem, and it's supposed to bring together all. It's supposed to be like the umbrella for all these other national anthems that we do have. I do not know about the South African anthem, but I have heard about the Kenyan anthem. It's really kind of nice, but the problem with colonization, it actually shows in every aspect of your life, because you can see even with this particular song, which is meant to be the African anthem, it sort of now sounds like it is the Catholic hymn. And this also shows the same thing to do with the colonization, which reflects on other aspects of your life. Baron Scott, thank you so much. You saying a good morning to the Black Melanated family. Good morning to you too. But I do believe there's some elements. The words. I do like the words. I do like the words to some extent. But of course, the style in which the music has been done, it's colonial, if you ask me, for lack of a better word. It's colonial. And I happen to also realize when you're talking about colonial, they are signs or emblems of unity. For example, the flag. We do have the different flags of different African countries. But if you go back and study a little bit over the history or the background to do with these African flags, you do find some of them really do not have anything to do with the people of that particular country. For example, if you go to Liberia and look at the flag of Liberia, it looks like it was just a copy of the US flag, the USA, the United States of America flag, and then it was just put on them, and you're told this is a flag that you're going to have, and you can use it as a symbol of national unity, which has totally nothing to do with the people of Liberia. I understand that Liberia, of course, was built as a nation which, of course, was to resettle the slaves that have been taken from Africa and bringing them back and resettling them in Liberia. But there was also the people who never left Liberia. They were also still there. And it was a very, very hard and a difficult time trying to incorporate the two back together. There was a lot of suspicion with the people who did come back and said, oh, maybe these are the same individuals that did sell our ancestors away, or things like that. But if you look at even all these symbols of national unity, one of them is a national anthem. The other one is the national flag. Some of these elements do have nothing to do with the local people. I realize, for example, if you go to South Africa, the flag, which is a symbol of national unity, this was designed by one of the crackers. I think he was a Dutch. It was designed by one of the beasts there. And, it also, I believe, has nothing to do with the people of South Africa. Even if you go to other different countries and look a little bit at some of the history and at some of the emblems that are seen as a symbol of national unity or as a symbol of unity, this has nothing really to do with the people in those countries. But nonetheless, I will not dwell much on that. I shall be telling us a little bit about what is happening in West African nation of Mali. And of course, there was a coup last year. And what did happen is that after a period of unrest, there was pressure, which did surmount, and there was the transfer of power to the civilians. There was a transitional authority that was picked. And this transitional authority, of course, it did have the prime minister. There was a transitional authority that did have the prime minister. And right now, as it is, there has been the detaining of these transitional leaders, the president and the prime minister that were actually appointed. Right now, it seems like there is also another coup going on, because it said that it is being said that they are missing, and they have been taken by the army. The army have actually taken them, and they are holding them. At I believe one of the military bases. And therefore, what is happening right now is that we are also seeing another interference with the affairs of the governance of Mali. And it's very, very sad to see that Mali, of course, was known for many things. If you go back to Mali, we did have a Timbuktu, and Timbuktu was known to be an economic powerhouse, and also a political powerhouse as well, and even a civilization hub. But right now, as it is, Mali's military has detained the president, and it has also detained the prime minister. The UN, the African Union, Bardo, and Mokhtar Owen's detention, and called the UN has actually condemned Bardo. His name is Bardo, that is the president, and also Mokhtar Owen, who is the prime minister. The UN and the African Union has condemned and have called for their immediate and their unconditional release. These are some of the things that are happening in West Africa, and you would imagine that in a day and age that we are right now, the history of our coups would be long gone. This also reminds me of Myanmar. Is it called Myanmar? Myanmar. There is also another coup in Myanmar, but of course that is off the African continent. That's them. But on the African continent, in West Africa, we do have a long history of coups, and I do know for a fact that some of these coups have been backed. Or they have actually been influenced by the French. And therefore, you do get to realize that Mali was a French colony, Senegal was a French colony, and we also did have all these, about 10 of the French colonies in West Africa. West Africa is very, very much known for the history of coups. And like I said, the French hand has been found in many of these coups, where they get to remove one leader and they put in another leader. We also do know about the situation in Chad. We have talked about Chad. Chad, there was a murder, there was a killing of the president, and they all said he actually died after there was he actually died in the field from another attack from another unit, an attack from another unit of these insurgents in West Africa, Chad. But later, after that, you did see the president of France, Emmanuel Macron, flying from France and going into Chad, and also being involved in terms of trying to tell people, oh, you can understand that right now we want to support the Sans president, to go ahead and take over for a given period of time until an election is being conducted. And you wonder, in a place where you do say that you are actually supporting democracy, I know democracy is really an ideology. But democracy is not really something real. Democracy is just an ideology, it's just an ideal. But there is no practical adoption of democracy in any country, not just in Africa, but even beyond. And therefore, if you had a French president saying that they are backing the son of the former president to take over, you wonder, that is not a dynasty. This is a democratic country, quote unquote, a democratic country, which is Chad. And then you do have France backing the taking over by the son, one of the sons of the president, as while it should be, power to the people, allowing the people to go back to the drawing board, and of course also vote or pick another leader that they want of their taste, not having someone being told, oh, you're the son of the former president, now we'll have you here. Because I do believe that shows the kind of a puppet kind of a leadership problem that you do have on the African continent, and that is what we are ailing from most. You do realize that if you go to different West African nations, go to Nigeria, we have Muhammad Buhari. Go to Ghana, we have Nana Akufo-Addo, who is the president. Go to Cameroon, we do have a Paul Biya. All these leaders, they have been in power, and they do get to operate with impunity because they know there is a backing, there is external backing, and they are actually being backed by the French, which I do believe for a fact there is a very, very strong hold on, on the way they conduct their affairs in those different countries. But nonetheless, right now there has been an arrest. The soldiers in Mali have detained the president and the prime minister of the interim government, according to the United Nations and the African Union, deepening the political chaos in the country just 9 months after a military coup overthrew the previous leader. The previous leader was overthrown. I believe he was overthrown while he was getting some medical attention. The detention of the president, Bado, and Prime Minister Mokhtar Ouen on Monday came hours after a government reshuffle left two soldiers who led the coup in August last year. Left out two soldiers who led the coup in August last year and raised fears of a second military takeover. So we are moving from one problem, from one coup to another coup, and this is in the West African nation of Amadi. Yes, Hussein Amadi was once an educational center of the world, but right now, at the point it is, we can only, just to be pitied, which is a shame. It's a country to be pitied right now. We know about the frequent attacks in Bamako. We know about the frequent attacks also of the Islamic militants in a place known as Mopti in central Mali. And I do believe one of the things that did, this is my own personal view, these I might be wrong, but I do believe what was happening at that particular point. Last year there was several attacks, not just last year, and also last year, but in a place known as Mopti, which is in central Mali, and we also did have different communities. There are many challenges in Mali. One of them is the inter-community conflicts or tribal conflicts. Let me just call them that, tribal conflicts. And therefore, you could hear that one particular community has attacked another, especially the Fulani is also in the mix. They were being attacked a couple of times, and they're also responding. And other different communities, not just the Fulanis, there was an inter-community kind of an attack. And therefore, what was happening is that at some point, the government was seen, the leader, the former leader, he was seen to be always on the reactive side. He was always seen to be his government was seen always to be on the reactive side. They would come in the morning. By then already the security officers would respond to the attack in the morning, and by then all these attackers would have already have left. They have scattered, and they have burned down the houses. Sometimes they have also done a lot of damage even to property and even cattle, things like cattle. You do find an attack on a village, and the cattle has been cut also into pieces. I think they used to have pangas. We call them pangas. All these are big, we call them like machetes. We call them pangas right here in Kenya, but they would cut also the animals and the goats and everything else into pieces. And you wonder why, what has these goats and the cattle got to do with anything? If at all you would, if at all it will benefit you, just rather go with the cattle. Of course, the cattle would slow you down from that particular perspective, but it doesn't also make any sense. Also putting the cattle in that particular kind of an equation and cutting them up and doing all this other thing to harming them. But I do think that the government, the president was seen as weak. I think the military also looked around and I saw this particular man is weak. Most of the time he's always on the reacting side. And I think that is where they did see a gap where the military can also come together. Some of the top generals, I do believe, can come together and topple him and get rid of him. And maybe, of course, that was done with the assistance of the French, because the French have been the former colonial masters in Mali, West Africa. And I do believe through that particular show of a weakness, that is how he came to be thrown out. And right now, as you speak, in Mali is in the same kind of a chaos. That was in August last year when the military coup took place. And then now today, yesterday, which was on the 24th, we are also talking about another second coup. And like we always keep on saying, now, of course, Akira likes to quote this and says, power never respects our weakness. If you are seen as a leader and you are on the African continent, let me just talk about the African leaders. You are seen as being weak. You are not able to be decisive. You cannot make decisions that are actually, impacting not just today, but even the future. People will actually come up and they'll take up they will take over your position. And I believe that is what has happened in Mali. And right now they have shown their power. But nonetheless, I do hope that there will be an intervention. The African Union, I was saying today, is the day that the African Union was formed. Of course, we are celebrating the Africa Day. But if you look at Africa Day and see this is like 50 years, for most countries, it's about 60 years since independence. For most countries, most African countries gained their independence in the early 1960s. For the better part of the African continent, around 1964-65, most African countries had gained their independence, apart from, of course, South Africa, Zimbabwe, and others that got their independence later in the day. But for the better part, by the time the African Union was being formed, you get to realize that for most African countries, the very first time, and also I do believe these had to do with the former president of Libya. His name was Muammar Gaddafi. Muammar Gaddafi, of course, was a revolutionary. I think he came up with the African Union idea after he went to these other Arab countries and they refused the idea of making an Arab League. I think he was trying to convince Tunisia, trying to convince Egypt, and also trying to convince Algeria and some other countries, of course, on the other side, to come together and form an Arab League. And then when he realized no one was interested up there, the Arabs to make anything to do with the Arab League, he realized, okay, let me now look down and talk to these other African leaders. For example, I believe Kwame Nkrumah and other different leaders in different African states, and come together around a table and make the Organization of African Union, which was formed in 1963. Like I was saying, most countries in Africa, they did get the independence from 1960s to the 1965, around 1965. So I believe we have seen about 60 years, close to 60 years of these Organization of African Union being in power. But even till today, its voice is not heard. For example, they have called for the release of this president and the prime minister in Mali, but no one will take African Union seriously, which is a big problem, because I was saying earlier, going back to my earlier point, because we do not have a strong military force that can actually also, force people into action, or, actually force change, because change has to be there. And if you do not have the military backing behind the voice, I want you to not do anything. You can write a statement from the African Union head office and our headquarters and say, this is a statement coming from the African Union, and we are demanding that the leader, the president and the prime minister be released from detention by these military. That will not happen. That probably might not happen. And we have seen the African Union being like a dog that is barking, for the better part, a dog that is barking without teeth. You might see a big dog and it's barking, but the same dog doesn't have teeth, and it's also on a leash. So that is the kind of a problem that you also do have in we also do have in Africa, even as you talk about the African Day, trying to celebrate, the formation of the African Union. There has been some good that has been done by the African Union. We shall be talking about that. We also are known on the African continent to have the best blueprints on how to be successful. But when it comes to implementing on these blueprints, all the strategies, all the plans, everyone gets slacking on their job. And of course, you have also the same organization of African leadership, the African Union, also being led by leaders I do believe was also lacking vision. And most of them are the elderly. We do not have young minds and young leaders on the African Union. We have a revolving kind of a leadership structure where the chairperson is picked from various countries. For example, this time it might be the president of Rwanda, Paul Kagame. He has been the chairperson for a while. It might be the president of Ghana, who is Nana Akufo-Addo. He has been a chairperson for the African Union for a while. It might be the president of Kenya, who is Uhuru Kenyatta, or whomever other president. They are picked to have a term in which they serve as the chairperson of the African Union. But I do not believe any of these leaders have been able to bring together their fellow counterparts, to making a strong military force that can be able to, address matters. I know the problem of funding comes up because there's no way you're putting together a strong military force without money, without resources. But at the end of the day, I also do believe that if there was a strong will to put together this kind of force, it would be possible because we do have resources in all these other African countries. We can have a way in which to sign an agreement that we can actually get or derive this funding from the sale of these resources, which can come from your country. You can even contribute resources or a portion of your resources, and a portion of these resources will go into providing the funds that can run a whole budget, maybe for 3 years for the force, or for 4 years, or for a couple of years for the force, or maybe even on a 2-year basis. That would be something I think that has not been a conversation that has been had, I will presume, with the African Union. I'm not acting as an African Union advisor. I am not paid for that job. But if they do come and pay me for the job, of course, I will be advising on how the work perhaps will be done in terms of putting together something functional. The problem is most of the leaders that you do have, even in that particular position, most of the same leaders who are puppets, and therefore they will be told what to do, and they will not act in accordance with what is supposed to be done. They will only do what they do feel. They will do only what they do feel that they will be pleasing to their masters at the end of the day. That is why we do have a very, very big problem. But nonetheless, I will be moving away from that. I want to mention a little bit about the Congo before we go on to our main topic for the day. And in the Congo, you might be wondering what is happening in the Congo. In the Congo, we do have the leader of the Congo choosing the son to become a minister. And you also wonder what is happening. This is also a country which is considered to be democratic. Like I was saying, democratic is just an ideology. We cannot talk about democracy anywhere on the continent of Africa. But this is in the Congo. His name is Denis Sassou Nguesso, who has been named as a minister in the cabinet lineup, and he has been named as a minister by the father. And you really wonder what is happening in the Congo Brazzaville. It's the same kind of announcement that has also happened even with Equatorial Guinea. I believe the son, Teodoro Guema, was actually picked to become the president by the father, and there hasn't been any kind of an uprising or any kind of an uproar with that as well. I think people are really just comfortable. People are just. Kid, the audio is bad. It sounds like a robot.
I'm in a bad area.
So what has been happening in different African countries? You do find people treating their countries such like dynasties. In a dynasty, you might say the next in line in the succession would be my son, and we have given him a ministerial position. He will be serving as a minister in this new cabinet, and all these are the kinds of things. And the people are also are also duped into believing that there is a process, there is a fair process with the election. Why would you then go and vote for someone and wake up very, very early in the morning and be part and parcel of the electoral process, and hope that you are going to have any kind of a change in your country, while as the leaders that you put, the next cabinet appointment will be going to their sons. And these are the same leaders. For example, with this one in Congo Brazzaville, these are the same leaders who have not been involved in any active development of their own countries. You wonder, people also do ought to wake up. In these different countries, people also do ought to wake up and hold these people accountable at the end of the day, because you do find that there's a lot of us lacking. But let me share a little bit all the same. Kami, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Yes, I can.
Oh, welcome to the show. Say hi to the family.
Hello, hi. How you doing?
You're doing fantastic. How about yourself?
I'm doing fine too.
We are glad to have you on the show. And we are talking a little bit about the appointment of the leader.
Mm-hmm.
The president of the Congo decided to appoint his son as a minister in the new government. And I was saying the same thing has also happened in Equatorial Guinea, where we
Mm-hmm.
did have the president appointing his son as a vice president. First and foremost, he actually had appointed him as he had actually appointed him
Mm-hmm.
as a minister. Then he appointed him as the vice president. What are your thoughts on these particular kinds of moves by African leaders? Putting their sons to become the ministers.
First of all, I have to say that this does not really make sense, considering that the same power, the same type of leadership that the dad did have is definitely the same way that the son is going to have, and
Yeah.
this is more like. I'm going to appoint you, and we're going to continue looting. We're going to continue stealing. We're going to continue to make the people of Congo as poor as possible. That is basically how this is. And my views regarding this, I think these leaders should be stopped. I mean, we've been having the issue with democracy, taking place. We've been having the issue with, you know, um, different African countries coming out and about and talking about having a brighter future. But you can see, for example, right now in Congo, I do not think they have even been given any sort of aid, considering that just recently they had a volcanic eruption, and this clearly speaks a lot about their leaders. So to me, this is a no-no, and the people should, like riot against this, demand a better Congo for themselves.
And we are talking about the smaller Congo. We shall also be talking about the bigger one, but this is the Congo
Oh,
Brazzaville. This is a
but
smaller one, the smaller one. Yeah.
but yeah, but irrespective, I think this is just not making sense. This is more like a looting. It's just the same way that here in Kenya, whereby we do have our president, and you get to see that most of the tenders, most of the time, they are given to his family members. So it is, I'm in power, and I'm going to make sure that my entire relatives, my entire families, they're still going to do the same. They're still
Mm.
going to help me loot. So that is how basically this seems like.
And what has been happening in this country is that this president has been one of the world's longest serving leaders. I'm not sure how many years he has served. I will be confirming real quick how many years the president of Congo has served. But there was a time Keith shared with us some particular video, and
Yes.
this video was showing some of the farmers that left South Africa. You remember the colonizers that had taken land from South Africa. Some of them
Yes.
right now have been going back to the Congo. Now this smaller Congo, they have been going back to the Congo, and they are starting farming again. And he has allowed them in. He has allowed them in, and we might be hearing also another situation where he might also be involved, with allowing more and more of these colonizers to
Mm-hmm.
come back, take the big chunks of land, and continue oppressing other people there. The farmers there might not be able to continue with their farming because there will be the invasion of
That's true.
these are the European farmers. But nonetheless, he has been in power since
Mm-hmm.
1997, and he was also the president from 1979 to 1992. So he has been in power in the Congo from, I think he's one of the most, he has been one of the longest serving leaders. I don't call him a leader because this is actually someone who has been put in there. But since 1979, he was a leader,
Mm-hmm.
and then his term ended in 1992, and then from there he also got back in power in 1997, and he has been there since 1997. And what did happen is that some of his team decided to resign. That is, some of his team decided to resign. There were some ministers who decided they will not be going to work again because the way he was taking the country, it was not the right way for him. Shepherd Simone, you saying the trick presidency like a monarchy. Exactly. You can bring in your son. You can make them the minister for finance, and also this did happen with the country Angola. In Angola, the president did make the daughter the head of the oil corporation, and the daughter eventually became the richest woman in Africa. But it was not because she was a very hard worker or because she was an entrepreneur or because she was an inventor or anything like that. It was because her father had the access and she put him there. He put her there to go and siphon all the money. And when all this particular money was being taken, it was being taken to account. That is that is where the money was being taken to at the end of the day. Nonetheless, I want to talk a little bit about the matter of the access or the participation of people in terms of decision and policy making. And our topic of the day, I wanted really to address the matter of why we have Africans not being able to participate actively in terms of decision making. One of the things that is lacking on the African continent is because of our low education standards. You realize, for example, when there is a new law being put in place in the country, for most of the constitutions in many different countries, some of the constitutions do not really allow for the active participation of the citizenry to also give in their thoughts. But for Kenya, let me just give an example. For Kenya, that particular kind of a problem has sort of been addressed to a small extent, not to the very full extent, but to a small extent, where we do have people being allowed to go in and also make their contribution to a given matter. There is a situation where you're told you must involve the participant. For example, if you're putting up a new project, very, very close to one of these national parks. In Kenya, you are supposed to go ahead and give you're supposed to go ahead and give the people the opportunity to also, put in their remarks about whether this particular construction should go on near this particular park. And there are also other agencies that are also brought on board, and they are allowed to continue and make their input. For example, you do have the NEMA. The NEMA is a National Environmental Agency, which, of course, is mandated with the role of enabling people to also give in their feedback in regards to environmental matters. But nonetheless, I know that it has been made as such because sometimes there is a making of a policies which are also made in private. Sometimes there is not the full disclosure of what new project is being put in place or whether the people in these particular communities want this new project. You remember in Kenya there was the making of the standard railway gauge, the SGR, the standard gauge railway, the standard gauge railway. But I do believe for some reason there was some communities in which near which this particular railway was to pass through. Some of them they did not really feel fully engaged with the whole process. But nonetheless, before we continue with that particular conversation, I just wanted to highlight the real definition of a public participation or citizen participation. This is the inclusion of the public in the activities of any organization or a project. It might not be government, a fully sponsored government project. It might also be maybe a project partially sponsored by the government. But public participation is similar but more inclusive to stakeholder engagement. Stakeholder engagement, of course, happens for corporates or for private companies, where you also have to involve the stakeholders. But at the end of the day, there has been also the lack of understanding. There has been also the lack of understanding what is the role of the citizenry and what is the role of these people that have been appointed by the citizenry that we call the government, and where do we mark the boundary, or where do we mark, where do you put the demarcation? Because sometimes you will hear people say, oh, that is the role of the government, or that is the work of the government to be involved in this and that. That is the work of government to do this and that. But at the end of the day, also on the side of the government, sometimes the government is also waiting for the local or the people in these areas to be making their own decision. But I have also seen sometimes some processes also being made very, very quick. That is also another aspect. Some processes also being made very, very quick. You have a bill that is put in parliament, and it goes through the first reading, the second reading, and all these other different stages, and then very, very quick, the government, the leader of government, who is the president, assigns to the bill, and it becomes a law. But I also do believe that there should be an element of what can I call it? Independence in the government structures. For example, we do have the judiciary, we do have the legislature, and we also do have the executive. when we do have full independence of these different three structures, or these different three levels of government, I do believe this would allow for also more public participation, because once they are in cahoots and they want to pass a thing real quick, it cannot, there will not be any reversing of that particular kind of a law being made. But I would like to get your sentiments. Why do you think that people are not participating actively in terms of the government policies, or in terms of other public decision-making processes?
All right. I think back then, in terms of during Moi's era, for example, in Kenya, most
Yeah.
of the time you used to see that the people were more of a silent in terms of airing their views regarding different government projects, because we did have a government that was more of a dictatorship. And you've seen, I'm just taking you through different eras. You've seen during Kibaki's eras now, when we had, the emergence of multiple, political parties, the ideas of people coming out and about and expressing themselves, at least it changed. People will
Yeah.
now, get to participate in the public. Even to this era, still it is happening. But I think it has reached a point that people are so tired with, going out and about, giving out their views regarding this and this project. Because at the end of the day, if this project, the government is doing it in terms of its own interest, most of the
Yeah.
time, irrespective of the public participation, the government will make sure that it always wins. For example, take a look at the BBI situation. We were not given. I mean, there was no full public participation, because the government had limited it, and the government had made sure that this was their agenda, because they knew that they were the ones who are going to benefit. And you saw many Kenyans are shunning this. You saw many political leaders being abused and things like that. And right now that the bill has not been passed on, you've seen that they are threats from the government itself. So I think people are basically afraid of indulging, or rather giving their views regarding whatever project that the government has, because it knows at the end of the day, if it is of the government interest, no matter what the people get to say, no matter the thousands of protests that people are going to give out there, the government will do what it gotta do to make sure that it gets to win. You've also seen the disappearance of other people. That is the main, stakeholders, in
Killings, with the extrajudicial killings, yeah.
exactly taking place. If the government gets to see that, you are out here mobilizing people, trying to make them, think the right path, most of the time you get to disappear. So that is part of the reason as to why the people, are afraid to give their views, or rather
And
to indulge in public participation.
yeah, I agree with you, because at the end of the day, we also do have the problem that people do not also understand the levels of public participation. But nonetheless, I wanted to share with us a real quick some of the levels of participation. You happen to realize that there is a ladder, what we call the ladder of citizen participation, and one of them happens to be manipulation. The government will, most of the time you do have the leaders coming and manipulating the people and telling them, this is what we want to this particular project, or this is what we want to this is the agenda that we do have for this particular project, or this is the agenda that we do have that we want to fulfill with this particular thing. But at the end of the day, that is not the real agenda. The real agenda, perhaps most of the time, is to enrich themselves, or most of the time is also to take maybe, amass some resources for themselves, and and cover up as something positive. And we also do have therapy. We also do have the level of informing. For most of the time, you do find that when the government wants to pass on something, they really would do it behind the people's back, and therefore there will not be much of this particular informing at this level. There is also consultation. Most of the time, we do find that the consultation that is being done, they already know the end result that they want to get. It's like stakeholder participation. They already know the kind of expected outcome that they need, but they still will actually disguise this particular consultation as a constructive or as a productive process. We also do have a partnership. Sometimes the government has also seen, sometimes, which is very, very rare, sometimes the government has also seen the need to partner with the communities. For example, I was talking about the matter of addressing the problem with the human wildlife conflict in a place like the Masai Mara. Every other time there would be the matter of the human. There would be the matter of the wildlife coming and attacking the humans and also destroying our crops. And therefore, at the end of the day, many people are going back to the government and claiming compensation because of these animals have left the park and they have gone and destroyed our crops in different farms. And therefore, The matter was that the government has to keep on paying, but it got to a point where the government had to come in and have a consultation and also have a process where they do have a citizen participation and talk about partnership. How can they safeguard these animals? Because what was happening is that the farmers also went back and they would attack these animals. Some of the animals would be killed and things like that. We would have this particular kind of a conflict, the human wildlife conflict in areas such as the Masai Mara and other neighboring areas. And there was that particular kind of a citizen participation process where the people are allowed also to be involved with a little bit of a partnership with the government, where they can say, we will be, looking after, these particular animals, or there is a way they actually get to formulate and come together at a conclusion with that. But there is also the matter of a delegated power, where the government sort of perhaps might give some people the role. They might also train some people in the community how to handle different situations and even empower them in different levels. And these sorts of gives delegated power. But I do like to say that in most cases, this delegated power is also, it's not many times that you do have a delegated power on the African context. And you also do have a citizen control. The citizen control is where the people, the matter is put in the hands of the people, and people can continue to, to chart their path with that. We also do have the classification of a citizen participation. One of them I said is a citizen power, citizen control, or delegated power and partnership. The other is tokenism, all placation, all information. The other is non-participation, which is just manipulation. You're manipulated to believing that your opinion counts. And at the end of the day, your opinion really doesn't count. It's not taken into consideration, even if you are able to air the same kind of an opinion. But nonetheless, the highest level of participation found in the Citizens Assembly, a method of in-depth consultation that is often seen to be the future of participation. This is the Citizens Assembly, of course, which is the highest level of participation. When you talk about citizen control, the highest citizen power type guarantees that participants or residents can govern a program or an institution and be in full charge of policy and managerial aspects, and be able to negotiate the conditions under which the outsiders may change them. That is according to Einstein in 1969. So I do believe people need to get into the understanding of what public participation means, and I also getting to understand the different levels of public participation. And I was talking about, if you wanted to empower a community, or if you wanted to empower a nation, there has to be also heightening or improving the the platforms in which the people can also get to participate in the decision-making processes in different aspects. It might be in health, it might be in housing and development, it might be in other aspects of the financing of the country projects, it might be in
Clean
all other
water.
clean water and things like that at the end of the day. And that is how you would have an empowered society. But the problem also, I do think, with many African people is that they want to politicize everything. Even if even if you do place it under the citizen control, there will also still be politics. And at the end of the day, people, instead of working towards a greater good, they will be going backward and sort of now try each other down, which I believe is also another challenge that is limiting the levels of public participation in those different kinds of areas. But I do believe there are advantages. There are advantages of citizen participation. And of course, like I said, this of course enables people to feel more involved with the process. It actually enables people to feel more involved with the process. But there are also disadvantages. If it's poorly done, public participation, of course, can result, for example, the loss of faith in the agency, or the loss of faith in whatever kind of an organization that is doing this public participation, because people will feel manipulated. And if people feel manipulated, they will no longer be there to deal with your government or to deal with your
Absolutely.
institution as well. But of course, when it's done well, public participation can serve as a catalyst for further development. It also encourages a sense of responsibility, because there is an element of shared responsibility. If you are involved with the whole process, you will feel also responsible, so that you can also guarantee that the results or the productivity of these projects can be seen through. And of course, it also ensures that things are done the right way. Another advantage is that it uses valuable knowledge, ingenious knowledge, where maybe the local people might know about a matter much better than any other person from the outside. And better all citizen participation also frees people from dependence on other skills, and it also makes people more involved with the process. And like you said, you can be able to guarantee more and better results when you do have a public participation at
Yes.
the end of the day. Carry on.
That is true. I highly agree with you in terms of that. But you have felt that I also like the fact that you have touched on the advantages, because the moment the people are comfortable, the moment some public amenities are provided to the people, the more, of course, you'll have a happy people, and a happy people, it will mean that an easy government to run. There, you wouldn't be having issues to deal with on a daily basis. For example, right now in Kenya, we do have issues to deal with terrorism. We do have issues to deal with corruption. But when the public is at ease, when the public is, definitely being provided with the services, most of these issues do not get to happen. And Spikes, I just want to touch on something that Semono has said in terms
Yeah.
of the situation in Mali. Have you checked the situation in Mali right now? That most of the prominent leaders have actually been arrested. I'm talking
Yeah.
about MPs. They've actually
Yeah.
been arrested. To me, I think, okay, by the military, as much as this is something negative, but I think there's some sort of justice that's taking place there. So I think right now the issue in Mali is going hand in hand with the topic of the day, in that, I mean, the current president, I can't recall like his name.
Yeah.
He used to be in the military, and as a result, right now we do have there was a shift in the cabinet, and the military have arrested the previous members of the parliament, and. I believe the military, most of the time, they get to speak for the people. At some point, they get to speak for the people, because in Mali it has been messed up. Currently, from time to time, we've been saying, the rate of insurgency in Mali, and I think by arresting these, politicians, it is one way to make them, think and come about with solutions as to why they never, worked for a better Mali. That is my view regarding that, because I believe they had all the power, to make sure, rather convince the existing president then in terms of dealing with the insurgency levels in Mali. So to me, their arrest, it's more like it is time for them to think outside the box and get to do something, better for the people of Mali. That is my views regarding the situation. In terms as to what Asemono had earlier on, texted that is on the live chat.
But I also think that there is a problem there, because you remember last year there was a military coup in Mali, and that was in
Yeah.
August. Yeah.
Mhm.
And the people are not happy because the military junta, they call it the military junta in Mali, took over. And the military junta have their
Mhm.
own leader. They put in place generals and give them the power, and the generals can do
Mhm.
whatever they want with the people. If people try to, come up with an uprising, they will shoot people like in Sudan, or they will go
That's
and
true.
kill people like we have had in Myanmar, which of course
Mhm.
are in Asia. But I do believe right now this is another second coup. This is another this is another military coup, and
I
because
think so.
they have detained the prime minister, they have detained the president, and right now the people are agitating for a transitional authority, and then they were given there was a transitional authority that was put in place. And then this transitional authority, the leaders now have been arrested again by the military. So it means this is like a second coup in less than a year, because the other one was in August last year, and right now this is in May, and we do have another coup going on in that particular country. We have seen the UN and the African Union,
Mhm.
they have been demanding for the release of these two leaders, because they were civilian appointed. And last year there was a removal of the other president. I think his name, I can't remember his name as well. But we are hoping
Something
that there will
like
be an
Doe, something like Doe. I can't
yeah,
recall.
yeah,
Something like
yeah,
Doe.
yeah, yeah. They are trying to get rid of they are trying to have a transitional authority and then have a proper election. But what has been happening is that France has also been, I can sense some involvement of France even with this particular one, because we know that West Africa is a region where we have had the most number of coups in any in any other part of Africa. West Africa, the former French colonies, these are the notorious when it comes to coups. You hear about Mali, you hear about Sierra Leone, you hear about all these different countries up there in the Sahel region being involved with coups. And I do believe when there is a coup, they remove one puppet and put in place another puppet. I don't think there's a
Absolutely.
fundamental. I don't think there's a fundamental change in the leadership of these particular countries. Just remove of one puppet and then putting in place another puppet. And of course, apart from that, there is a thing that you had mentioned,
Mhm.
and of course, these have to do with the matter of Goma in the DRC Congo. In the DRC Congo right now, they have been a volcanic eruption, and I wanted to share with us briefly about this particular volcanic eruption, even as we proceed. this is a natural phenomena. The problem is with Africa is that sometimes we are caught off guard. We are not really prepared, for these kinds of incidences. Even if we know this is an active volcano in the DRC
Mhm.
Congo, even if we know this is an active volcano, it has erupted sometimes back. It's known as the Mount Nyiragongo, which did erupt, leaving 31 people dead and hundreds of children are also feared missing and separated from their families. The government
Damn.
spokesman, Patrick Muya, confirmed the updated death toll in a statement on Monday, adding it will probably lies as the first responders are still searching for people. And this volcano lights up the sky in the Democratic Republic of Congo. You can see it's really a big eruption. Let me share these as it proceeds.
This is some incredible video right here. A volcano in the Democratic Republic of Congo is erupting right now. This is right outside the city of Goma. The last time this volcano erupted was nearly 20 years ago. It killed 250 people at the time. So far, it's not clear just how large this eruption is.
That's why fiber gives you the most
Sorry about that. These are not.
affordable and the best data bundles.
This is some incredible video right here. A volcano in the Democratic Republic of Congo is erupting right now. This is right outside the city of Goma. The last time this volcano erupted was nearly 20 years ago. It killed 250 people at the time. So far, it's not clear just how large this eruption is, although just looking at this video, this is just unbelievable stuff. But no one has been asked to evacuate just yet, according to the latest reports we're hearing from the ground. Here's another look at all of this. Just really wild video of this volcano erupting right now in Africa, Democratic Republic of Congo. We'll keep you updated on all this. As new video comes in, we'll bring it to you.
Yeah, and that's a bit of what is happening now with Nyiragongo, and I believe it's also home to different animals, wildlife,
Yeah.
the flora and the particular area, and therefore I do believe, apart even from the hearing about all on the human beings, there is also the matter of these other animals that are actually affected in that particular kind of regard. Nonetheless, we are almost winding up, but
Seems the
sorry.
latest report after the Ryan airplane was forced to make an emergency landing.
Nonetheless, we are almost winding up, but of course, it's important to highlight that there should be some sort of an increase. The government should also step in and make sure that people are getting some support. Around 8,000 people have already
Mhm.
crossed into Rwanda from the Republic of Congo to the DRC to seek refuge following the eruption of these volcano, and therefore this is a problem. This is a shared problem. I believe it's also a shared problem because people are also moving into Rwanda. I think it's very, very close to Rwanda. It's also very, very close to Rwanda in these Nyiragongo mountain. Of course, thousands of residents in Goma have spent hours, outside. The thing is, we do have a lot, we have a lot to do when it comes to disaster preparedness, because people just wait. Even when it comes to other, calamities, natural phenomena, you realize that people are we are caught by surprise. For the better part, we are actually caught by surprise, and that is why. That is why we do have that particular kind of a challenge with us on the African continent. But nonetheless, we are winding up. But before we wind up, I think we do have a Karen outside there today, and maybe she would share with us a little bit of something to do with the environment outside there.
Yes, true. And but before that, let me just comment something in regards to Congo. I think spikes in terms of the government doing something for the people, because
Hmm.
most of the people in Congo right now, they're battling with Ebola, they're battling with HIV and AIDS, they're battling with the militias attacking them. So they have no they have no alternative, to like find a safer place for them to stay. So they rather just get to encroach near a mountain, irrespective of how dangerous that is, and that is just a sad situation. So of course the government is not doing anything to provide for them. They're just looking for just any alternative for them, to like survive. That is my views regarding that. But of course it
Uh,
is a sad situation.
Yeah, I
And
do
in
believe.
terms of that, let me just proceed and get to share.
Okay,
I
go.
just want to, we have been talking about the issue with housing, and the place that I am at, this particular place that I am at, it is a government a project. I just want to give a brief history about it. This was, it used to be a slum, the entire place used to be a slum, but the government came about with a better housing, better and cheaper housings. So you have to either buy the unit or you have to rent the unit instead of, living in the slums. The project has been ongoing. We still do have others, of course, taking place, but they have not demolished the entire place. So I'll just proceed and get to share with you.
Mm.
All right, let me just proceed and get shared this. So this is how it looks like. Specs, you can see these are the affordable housings that the government did come about with. Many units, of course, but then again, it is a government project, so you also have to have some sort of links for you to own a house. So of course, they did not consider the issue with equality, but I can say it has changed the lives of people around here, because we do not have the issue with slums anymore. The government is trying, to eradicate slums, but I'll get to show you the other side briefly, because some slums have still not been demolished, but the projects are still ongoing. But this is just so great to take a look at that. Previously, it used to be all slums, but right now you can see it is just entire housing. So of course, on that part, I can say the government did get to try in terms of the housings.
But I hear some people got out of those houses, and when the government was making the decent houses, some people sold their units. The government comes in, takes up your names. They tell you they will be improving the housing situation, and then people, I think they sold their houses. I think they
Uh-huh.
some of the people who are built, some of the people who are living in the
Yes,
slums
yes, you can. Mhm,
before the housing upgrade project, because there was a housing upgrade project, and
mhm,
the government was involved with that particular one. But I think when some people got the new houses, the
mhm,
upgraded houses. I think they sold them. So I don't know what has to do. I think it has also to do with the mindset, because you might be living in a shack, and then the government comes and says that they will be upgrading your houses. And then when your houses
mhm.
are upgraded, you want to say that you will not live there anymore. You will be selling your house
Let me
and you
tell.
want to go back into another
Mhm.
situation. Go on.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Let me tell you, Spikes.
Go on.
I think into another slum. Let me tell you, you're correct. I agree with you. I agree with you. It is the issue of the mindset that somebody gets to calculate that if I get to sell this unit to someone, I'm going to have a lot of money and move to a cheaper house. Let me tell you, that is, most of these people even squandered the money that they had sold this unit. So it was a loss to them. But if you're wise enough, who wouldn't want to change life to here from there? Let me just move slightly and share the view of the ghetto. I told you this entire unit is made already. I cannot, of course, go to the ghetto because I don't have the strength of running. But that is the ghetto. You can see the ghetto from there. This is the renowned Kibera slums.
Yeah, it's
Can
like
you
we do
see?
have. Yeah, I do see it. It's like it's a
I
bit.
cannot be able to
It's not
zoom
clear.
well,
It's
but
not really
that
clear,
is
but
a
it's okay.
Kibera slum.
I was saying it's like we
So
do
some
have a.
people rather sell their units and go back to the slums because they think that then they have saved some money. And of course, it is crazy.
But I'm saying
But I
also,
believe you can see specs.
yeah, I do see it.
I do not really want to go outside because I do not know of the security around there.
But I was saying something. I was saying that we also do have the same.
Go on.
Yeah, there's a lot of Roomba in your background.
Go on.
There's a lot of Roomba in your background. I was saying that we do have the same kind of a situation also in Soweto, South Africa. In Soweto, South Africa, people, I do believe sometimes they're trying to get people from the ghetto who are living in the shops and put them on a better, in better housing. And then you will find the same people going back to the same old shops. You know, I think it has also to do with the mindset. They do believe that the best life that they have been living is a life in the ghetto. But we need to uplift our people from that particular kind of a mindset. You might come in Nairobi, go to Kibera. Kibera is the one of the largest slum settlements. Or you might go to Soweto. Shepa Simono, do they still have those? Did they upgrade the housing in Soweto, or is it the same way it used to be? I would just like to know from Shepa Simono whether there was an upgrade of the slum settlements in Soweto. I know in South Africa there's some areas also which are almost very similar. You know, in Africa we are facing the same challenges. You might want to call yourself a Kenyan, you might want to call yourself a South African, you might want to call yourself a Zimbabwean, but at the end of the day, we are facing the same kinds of problems and challenges. But the only way we can be able to overcome is through a revolution. And through waking up and also demanding for better from the government, because Africa is rich. People should not believe in sharks. I agree with you, Mr. Shepo Simono. But nonetheless, we are almost winding up. We are almost winding up. We shall be, getting to cover up more matters on other different shows. But thank you so much, Kami, for showing us a little bit of what's going on in that particular area. I understand that people are busy living, but at the end of the day, people should also be busy prospering, you know, not just surviving, because on the African continent, the way things have been, it's more like more about survival instead of thriving. You know, more people are on the survival mode. What will I have for dinner? What will I have for breakfast? What will I have for supper? And how can I pay for my kids' fees? The level of we need to get to a level where people are also living better economically and also having disposable income. That is when we can have, see other businesses growing and other things, other sectors actually growing. But when we live in this particular kind of a state where we are on a survival mode, then we shall be missing out. People might be living, suffering for about 70% of your life and only enjoying maybe a little bit percentage of your life because you're always living in worry. And when you're living in worry and poverty, you are also you are also vibrating low. I do believe poverty and sadness and grief also makes you vibrate lower. That is my thinking. But nonetheless, I want to thank everyone for joining us on this episode of the 54 correspondents on the Black Hot Fire Network. I thank you coming for your insights as well. We did lose Keith. We are not able to to get him because he's in a bad area. The connectivity was not so good. But remember to catch us in the evening on the Africa Today show as we get to discuss more matters right here on the Black Hot Fire Network. For right now, I want to thank everyone. Slums all over the place. It's heartbreaking the way we suffer. Exactly. But with all the resources on the ground, for example, the people you hear in the DRC Congo, the DRC Congo is one of the most richest places on earth because of the resource endowment, all the minerals on the ground. But people are living in poverty. People are living in hunger. People are living in poor housing. And it should not be like this. It should really not be like this, because we do own all those resources. But you also need to get our acts together. We need to get better in terms of the way we organize ourselves, in terms of where we unite behind, the agenda of development, and also holding people accountable, because there has to be consequences. If we live in corruption, if we live in ignorance, these are the things that are actually making our continent to be backward in terms of the housing, in terms of the economics, in terms of people accessing having food security and things like that. But nonetheless, we are winding up. I want to thank everyone. Thank you so much, Kami. I don't know if you have some final remarks as you wind up. There is a lag on the other end. That is why perhaps I'm not able to hear from Kami. But nonetheless, I want to wind up on a positive vibe. Whatever you choose to pursue, make sure you're committing 100% to all your endeavors, and also make sure that you're keeping a positive mind frame, because everything, this world is mental. Like Keith always keeps on saying, the world is mental. You also have to commit it to mind, and when you commit it to mind, you also have to manifest. Those are my closing remarks for today. And also, make sure if you are able to mobilize, community participation or citizen participation in your own localized kind of a way, make sure that you also get involved with those particular processes. Nonetheless, much means a lot. I want to wish everyone a happy and productive day ahead. For now, I will say kwaheri.